So far, I've redone the wiring over here for the dynamotor. That was all bodged and redone, and that's where he ran a wire from the B plus to the hot side of the filaments. All right, that's where he put his short in. Up here, he cut all the wires for the RF that went to the RF control, which are the gain control and volume control. Only 2 wires were left on the volume control. And the wafer switch, all the top wires, which have to do with when you go from automatic volume control to manual volume control, he cut all those off. One of the really horrible things is this red wire here that goes from the gain control. It goes up into this wiring harness and then over to the circuit board over here. And I could not trace that wire. I found it over here, and it went into this bundle, and I had to cut some of the lacing in order to follow it. I got halfway up in the bundle, and the wire was cut. Somehow he managed to cut the wire in the bundle. It's almost like he did some of this stuff on purpose to get even with somebody. And then this back connector that goes into the mount for the radio. This is like called a Jones plug. I took this apart, took it out, and what he did was he cut all the wires and left them on the terminals. And then he re-stripped the wires and put them on. What a mess. What a freaking mess. And there's a wire for the output of the audio for the radio. So you could send the radio over the PA system of the aircraft. That wire was cut. There's a wire that tells the receiver to go receive or transmit. That's been wired to ground. Of course the large hot wire of the filament wire, that baby should be to a fuse and then to this connector. So this thing sits this way, and you're looking behind there down, and each wire gets further away from your eyesight, and I'm like, this is not making any sense at all. So just like the wafer switch, in order to save my sanity, I took it out, I cleaned it all up. It's ready to go back in. I'll buzz out each wire and label it, and then put it on and solder it, put it back together. And there's shims underneath the assembly, and these shims are to get it at the right height so it mates up with the back unit. There's a shock mount unit that goes with this radio, and it's got a connector on it. Very hard to find the connector. A lot of people sell the shock mount without the connector, and I would say that the connector that goes on that shock mount is the hardest part to find. These guys that were selling these things surplus didn't know what they were doing. They were selling you stuff they thought you wanted and didn't sell you what you actually needed. So that's it. But I want to tell you, I'm still on this, and every day I think about it during the day, what I want to hit on it. And that wire that was cut in the middle of the bundle, that was really tough. That was 2 hours or more. And I could see the wire down underneath here with my flashlight. I got out my dental unit. I had one of these things with a mirror, and I could see the wire, and it came through the back, and then it went over. And then finally I said, John, cut the lacing so you can follow the wire. And I followed it up, and then all of a sudden it just came out, and it was cut, and it didn't come over to this control. So this guy, instead of just cutting some wires and taking them out, I don't know how he got in the middle of that bundle and cut that wire. I don't know, but that's what I found, and that had me going crazy. And so all the wires he cut off are back on. This will be done today, and then it comes down to following in from the audio from the output transformer back, and I have to change the tube. He wired it up for 6V6, and I might be able to use the 6V6. I have to look into what it entails and that, but the guy really did several mods on the radio. And it didn't work. All right, he just kept doing the mods. And I guess maybe he thought when he finished the last mod, the radio would start working. But this is what you'll get on eBay. And I've been looking at the eBay radios, and I want to tell you, they're really, really bad. They all have holes drilled in them. They all have parts missing because they went for the mods. And that was, if you read on the groups that, you know, the old leftover messages, people say it's almost impossible to get a radio that hasn't been touched by someone. And of course, someone has one. I still got one in the crate. You know, that type of thing. You know, he hasn't done anything with it, but he still has a radio in the crate. And so many people bought these. I told you that before. So many people bought and they're all going to get to it, and most of them are dead. All right, now this is my third one, and this is by far the worst radio I've ever worked on in my life, because in the past it would be somebody else's radio, and it either fell down a flight of stairs or it was left outside in the rain. And after I open it up and look at how bad it was, I'd say, "What did you do?" And they never tell you when they give you the radio that they left it out in the rain or it's been in a damp basement that flooded. They just go, "Oh, it just stopped working one day." Yeah, it stopped working one day. Then you put it down in the basement. And now in my lifetime, I always I always talk about radios that have been in the basement. I always say that, "Oh, I got that in a box in the cellar." Yeah, but the box is wet and in a puddle of water. And when the person talks about the radio, it's always a perfect radio. And then when you actually see the thing, it's horrible. And I went to a yard sale and yesterday, and two little kids were talking to their mother. They were out looking for Barbie dolls, and I saw them, and I told them, the kids had gone maybe 4 houses, and they were tired. These kids come back physically tired. And I said, you know, just up there around the curb, they got a bunch of dolls there. And then later on, I found another person just a few doors down from them with Barbie dolls. But I want to get it back to what I'm saying with the person. The guy got a bin of Barbie dolls, and they're just thrown in there. They're not displayed nicely. And he's telling me how old they are and they're worth money. And I'm like, I said, look, stop. I said, those Barbie dolls are old. They're worth money if they're in the original box. They've been played with. I said, you're not even displaying them in a good way. You know, he's just looking at me. I said, a friend of mine does trains. The same thing. They call him up, come over and look at my trains. I want to sell them. And then when he gets over there, on the ride over, while he's driving over there, they're taking trains from the amount that the group they're going to sell, and they're deciding they don't want to sell them. So he gets over there, and there's only, instead of 20 trains, there's only 4. And then in their mind, they keep talking about, well, I bought this train and it was worth this amount of money, and he gets over there. So he stopped doing that. He makes them bring the stuff to him now. And they think it's worth a lot of money, and it's not. It's got to be in really good condition to be worth something. Original in the box, unplayed with, it's worth even more, but not as much as it used to be. See, people think what they own is worth a lot of money. And when they go to sell, and then the person buying, he wants a discount on it so he can mark it up to resell it. So that it's very hard to get people to line up in selling stuff. But these radios, when you see people talk about them on the conferences, they have a radio they never touched. Yeah, I have one of those. Yeah, you bought one of those. It doesn't work. It needs to be recapped. It needs a power supply. But it's a talking point. And a lot of people have cars in their backyard they're going to get to, and they're never going to get to them. I know one guy, I had to listen to him. He was going to rebuild this certain car. It's still not rebuilt. He's 70-something years old. All right, it's not going to happen. And from sitting outside, it's rotting out, and it's just stupid. All right, and that's why when I get recommended all these videos for old cars. You know, like I said, when the guy's talking about the car, he's showing you the car he just got. He's all excited. When you see over his shoulder, he's got like 20 more cars that he never worked on, that he was excited about a year ago when he did the video on one of them. I stay with something. Now this, I only stay with this radio to have something to do. This is a piece of shit, okay? And I've been really good at taking the wafer switch out and cleaning it all up, and rewiring new wires on it, putting it back in there. And I'm only using some wires that I just happen to have. I'm not going overboard on this thing. And all because the front panel has an extra hole in it. See, if this radio had a front panel that wasn't defiled, I'd care more about this radio. But you know, every time I look at this radio, it's got an extra hole in the front panel that somebody drilled in there. And when it works, it's going to be put on a pile with a bunch of other radios. This is just a keep busy project. I really don't have any projects that I talk about that I got to get to. I've done them. You know, I stayed with something to prove a point, or like the dual conversion. That was just to see that circuit work. And I thought about building a cabinet, and I go in that room, and right now I have stuff out of boxes in there, and I'm saying to myself, no more radios, no more. This one I bought because my friend was talking about all the trains he owned, and it got me going again. And I put a bid on this, a ridiculous bid on eBay, and I was waiting for someone to bid it up, and they didn't, so now it became my property. I think that's it. All right, that's it.